Good evening, football fans. Big Al here on this Tuesday, September 16th, 2025, and welcome to the Week 2 edition of the week that was. As we'll be taking a look at all the team and individual stats from every game from this past week in the NFL. And stay tuned till the end where I'll bring you my Week 3 power rankings, and there are some shuffling especially at the bottom of these power rankings, so stay tuned for that. Marble Sky is in the house. What's up? In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. And off we go with the Week 2 edition of the week that was, starting off with Thursday Night Football as the Green Bay Packers defeated the Washington Commanders by a final of 27-18. The Packers moved to 2-0 on the season, while the Commanders dropped to 1-1. We'll start with the individual numbers for the Packers. All right, Jordan Love was 19 of 31 for 292 yards with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 113.9 QB rating. Leading rusher was Josh Jacobs, 23 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown on 3.7 per run. Your leading receivers for Tucker Kraft, 6 catches, 124, and a touchdown on 7 targets at 26.7 per catch. Dontavian Wicks, 4 catches, 44 yards on 6 targets at a 11-yard average. And Romeo Doubs, 3 catches, 28 yards, and a touchdown on 5 targets at 9.3 per catch. Kraft also had a touchdown reception in this game. Brandon McManus was 2 for 3 on field goals. Long was 56 and 3 for 3 on extra points. And then Daniel Whelan had 4 punts, averaging 53.3, long punt of 55 with 1 touchback. Leading tacklers for the Packers include Adrian Cooper with 10 tackles plus half a sack, Javon Bullard with 5 solo tackles, and Quay Walker with 8 tackles. Rashawn Gary and Devondre Wyatt each had a sack in this game for Green Bay. And for the Commanders, Jaden Daniels was 24 of 42 for 200 yards with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions and an 85.4 QB rating. Jaden Daniels also added 7 rushes for 17 yards. Then you have Austin Ekeler with 8 carries and 17 yards, averaging 2.1 per run. He did leave this game with a torn Achilles, and he is out for the rest of the season, unfortunately, for the Commanders. Leading receivers include Zach Ertz, 6 catches, 64 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets. He averaged 10.7 a catch. Scary Terry McLaurin, 5 catches, 48 yards on 9 targets at 9.6 a catch. And Deebo Samuel, 7 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets at 6.3 per catch. Matt Gay, 1 for 3 on field goals. Only make was from 51 yards and 1 for 1 on extra points. Tress Way, 4 punts, averaging 46.8, long punt of 55. 3 of those 4 punts ended up inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for Washington include Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Sainristil, each with 6 tackles apiece. Then you have Quan Martin, who had 7 tackles and a pass defense. Bobby Wagner led the team with 11 tackles. Lattimore, meanwhile, added a pass defense. And Dorrance Armstrong with 6 tackles and a sack. Total yards were 404 for the Packers and 230 for the Commanders. Passing yards were 269 to 179 for Green Bay. Rush yards were 135 to 51 for Green Bay. The Packers had 22 first downs versus 15 for the Commanders. Washington was 5 of 16 on third down and 1 of 3 on fourth down, while Green Bay was 5 of 12 on third down and 0 for 1 on fourth down. 5 penalties, 30 yards for the Commanders, 4 sacks taken for 21, with no lost fumbles or interceptions. 10 penalties, 77 yards for the Packers, 2 sacks taken for 23 yards with no lost fumbles or interceptions. Closing line was Green Bay -3 and the over-under was 48. I took the Packers to win and the Packers to cover, so I got both picks correct. Going 1-0 in both my straight up and ATS picks. And I'll tell you how I did with every pick on every game as we go along. Okay, now we're on to Sunday. The first game we'll look at is the Buffalo Bills, who has defeated the New York Jets by a final of 30-10. So the Bills are off to a 2-0 start, while the Jets fall to 0-2. We'll begin with individual numbers for the Bills. Josh Allen was 14 of 25 for 148 yards with no touchdowns or interceptions and a 73.4 QB rating. Mitchell Trubisky came in briefly, went 1 for 2 for 32 yards with no touchdowns and no interceptions and a 95.8 QB rating. Leading rushers include Josh Cook, 21 carries, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns, averaging 6.3 per run. And Josh Allen, 6 carries, 59 yards, and a 9.8 average. Leading receivers, you've got Josh Palmer, 2 catches, 47 yards on 3 targets, and a 23.5 average. Dalton Kincaid, 4 catches, 37 yards on 6 targets. He averaged 9.3. And Keon Coleman, 3 catches, 26 yards on 3 targets at 8.7 per catch. Matt Prater, 3 for 3 on field goals, long of 52, 3 for 3 on extra points. Cameron Johnston had 3 punts, averaging 43.3, long punt of 48, with 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Bills include Cole Bishop, who had 5 tackles and a sack. Taylor Rapp and Joe Andreessen each had 4 tackles. Matt Milano also added 5 tackles. You had 3 solo tackles for Davius White. Christian Benford and Terrell Bernard each added 4 tackles for Buffalo. And for the New York Jets, Josh Fields began the game. He was 3 of 11 for 27 yards with no touchdowns or interceptions and a 39.6 passer rating. But he would leave this game with a concussion. And according to Jets head coach Aaron Glenn, it would be hard to start Justin Fields if he doesn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday. Tyrod Taylor came in and went 7 of 11 for 56 yards with a touchdown and no interceptions and a 106.6 QB rating. Fields was also New York's leading rusher, 5 carries, 49 yards with a 9.8 average. Breece Hall held the 10 carries, 29 yards and a 2.9 average. Leading receivers include Garrett Wilson, 4 catches, 50 yards on 8 targets, and a 12.5 average. Breece Hall, just 2 catches for 9 yards on 3 targets. And pretty much not much to say about the receivers here. Nick Folk, 1 for 1 on field goals, Longo 51, and 1 for 1 on extra points. They have punter Austin McNamara, 7 punts, averaging 48.6, long punt of 55, with 1 touchback and 3 inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Jets include Jamie Sherwood, with 13 tackles, including 6 solo. Andre Cisco, 6 tackles and a pass defense. Tony Adams had 5 tackles. Jawan Briggs had 5 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. And Sauce Gardner added 3 solo tackles and a pass defense. Total yards, 403 for the Bills and 154 for the Jets. Passing yards were 179 to 54 for Buffalo. Rush yards, 224 to 100, also in favor of Buffalo. More than double the first downs for the Bills, 25 versus 11 for New York. The Bills went 5 of 14 on 3rd down and 2 for 2 on 4th down. While the Jets were terrible on 3rd down, they went 0 for 11, but 3 for 3 on 4th down. 6 penalties, 69 yards for the Bills, with 1 sack taken for a yard. No lost fumbles or interceptions thrown. And for the Jets, 5 penalties, 35 yards, 4 sacks taken for 29, a lost fumble, and no interceptions thrown. Time of possession is 38 minutes, 21 seconds for the Bills, which puts them in ball hawk territory. A ball hawk is a team that possesses the ball 35 minutes or more in a game, whether the team wins or loses, and that's where Buffalo is with their 38 minutes and 21 seconds. Meanwhile, the Jets had the ball for 21 minutes and 39 seconds. Closing line was Buffalo minus 5.5, and the over-under was 47.5. I picked the Bills to win, I took the Bills to win, and I took the Jets to cover. So my straight-up record is now 2-0 on the week, while my spread record drops to 1-1. Next up, we have the Detroit Lions, who blew away the Chicago Bears 52-21, quickly putting that ugly Week 1 performance against the Packers behind them. As Detroit moves to 1-1 on the season, Chicago drops to 0-2. We'll begin with individual numbers for the Lions, starting off with Jared Goff. 23 of 28 for 334 yards with 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 156 QB rating. So this was a nearly perfect day for Jared Goff. Leading rushers were Jahmyr Gibbs, 12 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown, averaging 7.8 per run. And David Montgomery, 11 carries, 57 yards, and a touchdown at a 5.2 clip. Your leading receivers include Amon-Ra St. Brown, 9 catches, 115, and 3 touchdowns on 11 targets, averaging 12.8 yards per catch. Jameson Williams, only 2 catches, but for 108 yards and a touchdown on 4 targets, and a 54 average. Then you got Isaac Tesla. He's the rookie receiver out of Arkansas. Of course, grew up in the state of Michigan. He had just 1 catch for 29 yards on 1 target. And that 1 catch, like his first one, was a highlight reel catch. Okay. Brock Wright, 3 catches, 28 yards, and a touchdown on 3 targets at a 9.3 clip. And Sam Laporta, 3 for 26 on 4 targets, averaging 8.7. Jake Bates, 1 for 2 on field goals, long of 34, and 7 for 7 on extra points. Jack Fox, 3 punts, averaging 49, long punt of 62, with a couple inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Lions includes Jack Campbell with 8 tackles. Brian Branch had 6 solo tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, and a pass defense. Terrion Arnold also with 6 solo tackles plus a pass defense. And Derek Barnes closed the day with 6 tackles. On the Bears side, Caleb Williams was 19 of 30 for 207 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception and a QB rating of 91.9. Tyler Bagent played for a little bit, went 2 for 3 for 27 yards with no touchdowns or interceptions and a 95.1 QB rating. Leading rusher was DeAndre Swift. The ex-Lion ran for 12 carries, 63 yards, and a touchdown with a 5.3 average. As for your top receivers, you have Rome Odunze, 7 catches, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 11 targets, averaging 18.3 yards per catch. DJ Moore had 5 catches, 46 yards on 6 targets at 9.2 per catch. And Cole Kmet, 2 catches, 29 yards on a couple targets, averaging 14.5. Cairo Santos, no field goals, but 3 for 3 on extra points. Torrey Taylor with 4 punts, averaging 53, long punt of 62, with 1 punt inside the 20. All right. Leading tacklers for Chicago include Jaquan Brisker with 9 tackles. Tremaine Edmonds with 7 tackles. Tyreek Stevenson also had 7 tackles. And Noah Sewell with 5 tackles for the Bears. Total yards, Lions with 511 and the Bears with 339 as Joey comes up in here. What's up, Joey? So 511 for the Lions and 339 for the Bears. Pass and rush yards both favored Detroit. Pass yards for 334 to 205. Rush yards for 177 to 134. 25 first downs for the Lions versus 19 for the Bears. 7 of 13 on third down for Chicago and 0 for 2 on fourth down. Detroit 4 for 10 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down. 8 penalties, 50 yards for the Bears, 4 sacks taken for 29, with 1 lost fumble and 1 interception. And for the Lions, 3 penalties for 28 yards with no sacks taken, no lost fumbles or interceptions. Time of possession nearly carved in half. Slight advantage to the Lions at 30 minutes, 20 seconds, while the Bears had the ball for 29 minutes and 40 seconds. Closing line was Detroit -6. Over-under was 46. I was expecting a closer games. I had picked Detroit to win straight up. I had Chicago with the 5.5 points, or 6 at close. But Detroit covered the spread with ease. So my straight up record remains perfect at 3-0, but I'm on 1-2 on my spread picks after the first 3 games of the week. Alright, from the NFC North, we'll go to the AFC North and another blowout as the Baltimore Ravens defeated the Cleveland Browns 41-17. The Ravens get their first win of 2025 as they improve to 1-1. Cleveland, meanwhile, is off to another 0-2 start. All right, we'll begin with individual numbers for the Baltimore Ravens, beginning with Lamar Jackson. Very good game for him. 19 of 29, 225 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 128.6 QB rating. He also added 2 rushes for 13 yards and a 6.5 average. Derrick Henry was pretty much held in check by Cleveland's run defense, only 11 carries, 23 yards, and a 2.1 average. As for receivers, your top receivers are Zay Flowers, 7 catches, 75 yards on 11 targets at 10.7 a catch. DeAndre Hopkins, 2 for 64 and a touchdown on 2 targets and a 32 average. Devontae Walker had 2 catches, 26 yards, both for touchdowns on 2 targets and a 13 average. And Tylan Wallace, 2 for 25 on 2 targets and a touchdown. He averaged 12.5 per catch. Tyler Loop, the new place kicker in Baltimore, went 2 for 2 on field goals, as long 43, and 5 for 5 on extra points. And then you had 5 punts for Jordan Stout at 51.8 per punt, long of 58, 2 inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Ravens include Roquan Smith with 15 tackles, including 8 solo. Keon Martin had 5 solo tackles. Rookie Malachi Starks had 7 tackles. Tavius Robinson had 6 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. Meanwhile, Chidobe Awuzie and Kyle Hamilton each had 5 tackles for the Ravens. For the Browns, Joe Flacco was 25 of 45 for 199 with 1 touchdown, 1 interception. His QB rating was 65, so he had a pretty tough game. Dillon Gabriel came in shortly, went 3 for 3 for 19 with a touchdown and no interceptions. He had a 132.6 QB rating. All right. The leading rusher for Cleveland was Quinshon Judkins. This is the rookie from Ohio State. He ran 10 times for 61 yards, averaging 6.1. Jerome Ford had 6 carries for 31 yards and a 5.2 average. Leading receivers for the Browns include Jerry Jeudy, 4 catches, 51 yards on 8 targets and a 12.8 average. Harold Fannin Jr. had 5 catches, 48 yards, 5 targets, and a 9.6 average. David Njoku, 4 catches, 40 yards on 5 targets, averaging 10 per catch. Jerome Ford, 5 for 23 on 6 targets, and a 4.6 average. Cedric Tillman, 2 for 22 on a touchdown on 7 targets. And Dylan Sampson, 3 catches, 13 yards, and a touchdown on 3 targets. Andre Smythe, 1 for 1 on field goals, 38 was his only attempt, and 2 for 2 on extra points. And Corey Bojorquez, 5 punts, averaging 44.6, long punt of 53, with no touchbacks, 3 punts inside the 20, and he also had a punt blocked. All right, leading tacklers for Cleveland include Greg Newsome II with 7 tackles. Devin Bush actually led the team in tackles with 8, plus 1 sack and 2 passes defense. Grant Delpit, 5 tackles and a pass defense. Mason Graham had 5 tackles. Carson Schlesinger, 5 tackles. Myles Garrett with 5 tackles, plus 1.5 sacks for Cleveland. Total yards 322 for the Browns, only 242 for the Ravens. Passing yards, 207 to 197 for Cleveland. Rush yards, 115 to 45 also for Cleveland. The Browns had 17 first downs versus 14 for the Ravens. Cleveland finished 7 of 18 on third down and 1 for 3 on fourth down, while Baltimore was just 3 of 12 on third down and 1 for 1 on fourth down. 6 penalties, 42 yards for the Browns, 2 sacks taken for 11, 1 lost fumble, and 1 interception. 6 penalties, 28 yards for the Ravens, 3 sacks taken for 28, no lost fumbles or interceptions. Time of possession goes in favor of the Browns at 31 minutes, 49 seconds versus 28 minutes, 11 seconds for Baltimore. Closing line was Baltimore minus 12.5, and the over-under is 46.5. This was my lock of the week as I took the Ravens to win and to cover. So now my record is 2-1 with my lock of the week. Straight up is 3-0. And overall, my straight up record for the week is 4-0. My spread record is back even at this point at 2-2. Alright, our next game sees the Cincinnati Bengals defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars 31-27. Cincinnati is off to a 2-0 start, while Jacksonville, who had ample chances to win this game, fell to 1-1. We'll begin with individual numbers first for the Bengals, starting off with Joe Burrow. 7 of 13, 76 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. He had a 97 quarterback rating, but he would leave this game with a toe injury. And according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Burrow will need surgery on that toe, which will sideline him for a minimum of 3 months. So this is possible that Joe Burrow may not suit up again in 2025 because of that injury. So that's a big loss for the Bengals. After Burrow was injured, Jake Browning came in and went 21 of 32 for 241 yards with 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He had a QB rating of 69.9. Chase Brown was the leading rusher for Cincinnati. 16 carries, 47 yards, only a 2.9 average. Jake Browning had a 1-yard touchdown run in this game. Top receivers for the Bengals include Jamar Chase, 14 catches, 165, and a touchdown on 16 targets. He averaged 11.8 per catch. T. Higgins, 3 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown, averaging 18.7 on 8 targets. Noah Fant, 3 for 28 on 4 targets. He averaged 9.3. Mike Gesicki, 3 catches, 18 yards on 4 targets. He had a 6 average. And then Mitchell Tinsley had just 1 target on the day and 1 catch for 13 yards, and it goes for a touchdown. Evan McPherson 1 for 1 on field goals, long of 31, and 4 for 4 on extra points. Ryan Redcow, 3 punts, averaging 55.3. Long punt of 63 with 2 inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Browns include Dax Hill with 9 solo tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. Geno Stone had 9 tackles as well. Logan Wilson with 8 tackles and a pass defense. And Demetrius Knight Jr.'s. He had 5 tackles for the Bengals. Over on the Jaguars side, Trevor Lawrence was 24-42 for 271 yards with 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Get that off of there. And a QB rating of 80.6. Leading rushers were Travis Etienne Jr., 14 carries, 71 yards, and a 5.1 average. And Bashul Tutin, 8 carries, 42 yards, and a 5.3 average. Top receivers for Jacksonville include Parker Washington, 5 catches, 76 yards, on 5 targets with a 15.2 average. Then there's De'Ami Brown with 5 catches, 57 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets. He averaged 11.4. And Brian Thomas Jr. with 4 catches, 49 yards on 12 targets. He had a 12.3 average. Bashul Tutin and Travis Etienne both added receiving touchdowns for the Jaguars. Cam Little, 2 for 2 on field goals, his longest 42, and 3 for 3 on extra points. Logan Cook with 2 punts averaging 47.5. His long punt is 60 with 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Jaguars include Jordan Lewis with 8 tackles and a pass defense. Eric Murray with 7 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. Josh Hines Allen with 6 tackles. Foye Oluokun with 7 tackles and a sack. Trayvon Walker, 5 tackles, a sack, and a pass defense. And Devin Lloyd with 5 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. Total yards for 400 for the Jags and 350 for the Bengals. Passing yards for 302 to 261 for Cincinnati. Rush yards were 139 to 48 for Jacksonville. The Bengals had 24 first downs, while the Jaguars had 21. Third down, 6 of 13 for the Jags, 6 of 14 for the Bengals. While Jacksonville finished 0 for 1 on 4th down, Cincinnati was 1 for 1. 6 penalties, 55 yards for the Jaguars, 1 sack taken for 10, no lost fumbles, and 2 interceptions thrown. 3 penalties, 29 yards for the Bengals, 3 sacks taken for 15, no lost fumbles, and 3 interceptions thrown. Time of possession, 33 minutes, 11 seconds for Jacksonville, 26 minutes, 49 seconds for Cincinnati. Closing line was Cincy minus 3.5, over under 49.5. I picked the Bengals to win and cover, so I remain perfect on my straight up picks at 5-0, and 3-2 on my spread picks at this juncture. Our next game takes us to Nashville as the Los Angeles Rams defeated Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans 33-19, which would push Sean McVay's squad to 2-0, while the Titans dropped to 0-2. Alright, individual numbers first up for the Rams. Matthew Stafford, 23 of 33, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 105.4 passer rating. Leading rusher was Kyren Williams, 17 carries, 66 yards, and a 3.9 average. Puka Nacua had 1 rush for 45 yards, and that went for a touchdown. And Blake Corum had 5 carries, 44 yards, and a touchdown. Leading receivers include Devontae Adams, 6 catches, 106 yards, a touchdown on 13 targets, and a 17.7 average. The aforementioned Puka Nacua, 8 catches, 91 yards on 9 targets, 11.4 average. Then you've got Jordan Whittington with 2 catches, 42 yards on 2 targets, and a 21 average. And Tyler Higbee, 4 catches, 37 yards on 4 targets, and a 9.3 average. Davis Allen did catch a touchdown for Los Angeles. Joshua Carty went 2 for 2 on field goals. His long was 21, and 3 for 4 on extra points. And then Ethan Evans had 3 punts, averaging 48.3, long punt of 51, with 1 inside the 20. Leading tacklers for the Rams defense include Cameron Kitchens with 10 tackles, Cam Curl with 7 tackles and a sack, Nate Landman 8 tackles, Quentin Lake with 5 tackles and a pass defense. Then you got Byron Young with 5 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. And Colby Turner, he had 3 solo tackles and a sack for the Rams. Over on the Titans side of the ledger, Cam Ward making his first home start for the Titans. 19 of 33 for 175 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 82.3 QB rating. Tony Pollard was the Titans' leading rusher. 20 carries, 92 yards, he averaged 4.6. Top receivers for Tennessee include Calvin Ridley, 3 catches, 57 yards on 6 targets, averaged 19 a catch. There you have Alec Eomanor, rookie receiver out of Stanford, born and raised in Canada. He had 4 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets, average of 14. Chig Okonkwo, 4 catches, 35 yards on 6 targets. He averaged 8.8. Joey Slye, 4 for 4 on field goals. Long was 57, and 1 for 1 on extra points. And the veteran punter, Johnny Hecker, had 5 punts, averaging 50. His long punt was 57. And he had 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Titans include Amani Hooker. He had 8 tackles and a sack. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. with 8 tackles as well. Xavier Woods, 6 tackles. And Roger McCreary with 7 tackles and a pass defense. Also, Cody Barton had 5 tackles, a pass defense, and an INT. And L'Jarius Sneed with 3 tackles and 2 passes defense. Alright. Total yards, 439 for the Rams, 252 for the Titans. Alright, passing yards is 290 for LA, 143 for Tennessee. Rush yards also favored the Rams, 149 to 109. LA had 22 first downs to Tennessee's 18. The Rams went 5 of 12 on 3rd down. The Titans were 6 of 15. Both teams were 1 for 1 on 4th down. 4 penalties, 29 yards for the Rams, 1 sack taken for 8, no lost fumbles, and 1 interception thrown. 10 penalties, 62 yards for the Titans, 5 sacks taken for 32, 1 lost fumble, and no interceptions. Time of possession, 30 minutes, 7 seconds. Slight advantage to the Titans versus 29 minutes and 53 seconds for the Rams. Closing line was LA minus 5.5. Over-under was 41. I picked the Rams to win, but the Titans to cover. So my straight-up record remains perfect at 6-0. But my spread record is back to even at 3-3. Alright. Might want to turn away, Joey, because these numbers are not going to be pretty. Because next up, we have the New England Patriots defeating the Dolphins 33-27. This is the Patriots' first victory in Miami since 2019. So the Patriots get their first win of the 2025 season. They're now 1-1, while the Dolphins fall to 0-2. Individual numbers for the Patriots, beginning with Drake May, 19 of 23, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 137.3 passer rating. He was very efficient in this game. Leading rushers include Ramondre Stevenson, 11 carries, 54 yards at 4.9 per rush. And Drake May, 10 carries, 31 yards, and a rushing score on 3.1 per rush. Top receivers include Ramondre Stevenson, 5 catches, 88 yards, 5 targets, and a 17.6 average. Austin Hooper, 3 catches, 38 yards on 3 targets, and a 12.7 average. Stephon Diggs, 4 catches, 32 yards on 5 targets. He averaged 8 per catch. Travion Henderson, this is the rookie running back from Ohio State. He had 2 catches, 30 yards on 2 targets. Kayshon Boutte, 1 catch, 16 yards on 1 target, and that went for a touchdown. And Mack Hollins also with a touchdown reception for New England. Andy Borregales, this is the rookie kicker from Miami. He went 2 for 2 on field goals. His long was 53 yards, and he went 1 for 3 on extra points. Bryce Baringer with 2 punts, averaging a lofty 68 yards. His long punt was 71, so both of his punts were good. Leading tacklers for the Patriots include Jalen Hawkins, 8 tackles. Christian Ellis, also with 8 tackles. Craig Woodson, 6 tackles. Marcus Jones had 5 tackles. And Kyle Duggar finished the day with 4 tackles. Meanwhile, Milton Williams, the pass rusher they signed in the offseason from Philly, he had 3 solo tackles and 2 sacks. And for Joey's Miami Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa also efficient in this game. 26 of 32 for 315 with 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a pretty good QB rating of 115.5. Leading rusher was Devin Achane, 11 carries, 30 yards, and a 2.7 average. Top receivers, Tyreek Hill, 6 catches, 109 on 7 targets. He averaged 18.2 per catch. The aforementioned Devin Achane, 8 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown on 10 targets. Jalen Waddle, 5 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets. He averaged 13.6 per catch. Riley Patterson was 2 for 2 on field goals. Long was 44, and 3 for 3 on extra points. Jake Bailey, 2 punts, averaging 44. His long punt was 48 with 1 inside the 20-yard line. Top Dolphins tacklers include Tyrell Dodson with 9. Jordan Brooks, he had 8 plus a sack. Minkah Fitzpatrick had 8. Bradley Chubb with 5 tackles and a sack. And Chop Robinson had 2 solo tackles and a sack for the Miami Dolphins. Total yards, Dolphins 358, Patriots 333. Passing yards favored Miami 297 to 211. Rush yards favored New England 122 to 61. 18 first downs for the Pats, 16 for the Dolphins. New England 7 of 12 on 3rd down, Miami 4 of 10. And on 4th down, the Patriots were 1 for 1 while the Dolphins were 0 for 2. And there were a lot of penalties in this game. 12 for 75 yards for the Patriots. 3 sacks taken for 19. No lost fumbles and no interceptions thrown. 10 penalties, 65 yards for the Dolphins. 5 sacks taken for 18. No lost fumbles and 1 interception thrown. Time of possession was 33 minutes, 45 seconds for New England, 26 minutes and 15 seconds for Miami. Closing line was Miami minus 2.5. Over-under was 42.5. While Vegas would zig, I would zag. I took the Patriots to win and cover, so I remain perfect in my straight-up picks at 7-0. And I improved to 4-3 with my spread picks. All right, the game of the day on Sunday happened in the NFC East as the Dallas Cowboys knocked off the New York Giants in overtime 40-37. Dallas moves to 1-1 with the victory, while the Giants drop to 0-2. We'll start with individual numbers for them boys, including Dak Prescott. 38 of 52, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a QB rating of 96.7. Leading rusher, is Javonte Williams, 18 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged 5.4. Dak Prescott added 3 runs for 17. He averaged 5.7. Miles Sanders had 5 carries, 15 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged just 3 per tote. Top receivers include CeeDee Lamb, 9 catches, 112 yards on 11 targets, and a 12.4 average. Jake Ferguson, 9 catches, 78 yards on 12 targets, and an 8.7 average. George Pickens, 5 catches, 68 yards on 9 targets, and his first touchdown as a Cowboy. He averaged 13.6. And Kevontae Turpin, 4 catches, 47 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets. He averaged 11.8. Brandon Aubrey was 4 for 4 on field goals. His long was that 64-yarder that forced overtime. And he was also 4 for 4 on extra points. Brian Anger with 4 punts, averaging 47.8. His long punt was 53, with 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for Dallas include Kaiir Elam with 9 tackles. Kenneth Murray Jr. with 7 tackles. Jack Sanborn, 8 tackles. Solomon Thomas, he had 7 tackles. Donovan Wilson had 6 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. And Kenny Clark, who the Cowboys have traded it. Then you got Kenny Clark, who the Cowboys acquired in the Micah Parsons trade. He had 4 tackles and a sack. For the New York Football Giants, Russell Wilson, one of his best games in a long time. 30 of 41, 450 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 123 QB rating. Leading rusher for New York is rookie Cam Scatterbo out of Arizona State. 11 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown. Averaged 4.1 per run. Leading receivers for the Giants, and you've got 2 100-yard pass catchers, including Malik Neighbors. 9 catches, 167, and 2 touchdowns on 13 targets. He averaged 18.6 per catch. And Wan'Dale Robinson, 8 catches, 142, and a touchdown on 10 targets. He averaged 17.8. Darius Slayton, 2 catches, 61 yards on 3 targets. He averaged 30.5. And Tyrone Tracy, 4 catches, 36 yards on 5 targets. He averaged 9 per catch. Graham Gano was 3 for 3 on field goals. Long was 38. 4 for 4 on extra points. And Jamie Gillen, 3 punts, averaging 45, long punt of 50. Leading tacklers for the Giants include Paulson Adebo. He had 13 tackles, including 11 solo. Drew Phillips, 11 tackles, 2 passes defense, and an interception. Adebo also had a pass defense in this game. Javon Holland with 7 tackles. Deontay Banks with 6 tackles. Tyler Nubin with 5 solo tackles. Bobby Okereke, 10 tackles and a pass defense. And Kayvon Thibodeau, 5 tackles and an interception. Meanwhile, you had 4 solo tackles by Dexter Lawrence II. And then Brian Burns had 3 solo tackles, a sack, and a pass defense. All right, a lot of offense in this game. 506 yards for the Giants, 478 for the Cowboys. Passing yards favored New York, 422 to 343. Rush yards favored Dallas, 135 to 84. And judging by what I've seen from the Cowboys the first 2 games, looks like they do have a running attack. 32 first downs for the Cowboys to 22 for the Giants. Both teams finished 6 of 14 on third down. The Giants 1 for 2 on fourth down, while the Cowboys were 1 for 1. And there were a bunch of penalties in this game as well. 14 for 160 for the New York Giants. 3 sacks taken for 28. No lost fumbles, 1 interception thrown. 12 penalties and 106 yards for the Cowboys. 3 sacks taken for 18. No lost fumbles and 1 interception thrown as well. Time of possession puts Dallas in ball hawk country at 37 minutes, 21 seconds. Giants 32 minutes and 29 seconds. Closing line, Dallas minus 4.5, and the over-under is 44.5. I took the Cowboys to win and to cover. But since Dallas only won by 3, New York covers as the road dog. So I stayed perfect in my straight-up picks at 8-0. Spread picks are back even at 4-4. If you're just joining us, you're watching the week that was, as we're taking a look at the team and player stats from week number 2 in the NFL. And after these next 8 games, we'll dive into the week 3 power rankings, so make sure you stay tuned. Continuing on, we have the San Francisco 49ers beating the New Orleans Saints, and doing so rather short-handedly. San Francisco wins by a final of 26-21 as they move to 2-0. The Saints are 0-2 as expected, but they played very tight games with both the Niners and Cardinals these first 2 weeks of the season. We'll start with individual numbers for the Bang Bang Niner game, including Mac Jones, who was in for the injured Brock Purdy. Jones went 26 of 39 for 279 yards with 3 touchdowns. Leading rusher was Christian McCaffrey, 13 carries, 55 yards, and a 4.2 average. Your leading receivers are Jawan Jennings, 5 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown on 10 targets. Ricky Pearsall, 4 catches, 56 yards on 6 targets, and a 14 average. Christian McCaffrey, 6 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets at 8.7 per catch. And Kendrick Bourne, who's back with the Bang Bang Niner gang, he had 3 catches, 32 yards on 3 targets, and a 10.7 average. Luke Farrell, he was playing at tight end for the injured George Kittle. He had 2 catches, 15 yards, and a touchdown on 3 targets. He averaged 7.5 a catch. Eddie Pinheiro, 2 for 2 on field goals, 46 was his long, 2 for 3 on extra points. He, of course, takes over as the new place kicker in San Francisco after the team cut Jake Moody. And Thomas Morstead with 4 punts, averaging 43.3, long punt of 49, with 2 inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Niners include Fred Warner with 11 tackles, a forced fumble, and a pass defense. D. Winters with 8 tackles. Renardo Green, 5 solo tackles and a pass defense. And then there's Upton Stout. This is the rookie corner from Western Kentucky. He had 5 tackles and a sack. Michael Williams finished with 5 tackles. Diamador Lenore had 4 solo tackles. Nick Bosa, 9 tackles and a sack. And Bryce Huff had 4 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble for the Niners. On the Saints side of things, Spencer Rattler playing a lot better than I expected, that's for sure. 25 of 34, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had a 118.1 QB rating. Alvin Kamara, nearly a 100-yard rushing performance for him. He had 21 carries, 99 yards, and a 4.7 average. Top receivers for New Orleans include Chris Olave, 6 catches, 54 yards on 10 targets, and a 9 average. Rashid Shaheed, 4 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown on 5 targets, and a 13 average. Juwan Johnson, 5 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets, and a 9.8 average. Devon Vele also had a touchdown reception for the Saints. Blake Grupe, 0 for 1 on field goals, 3 for 3 on extra points. Oops, there we go. Kai Kroger, 4 punts, averaging 42.8, long punt of 52. 1 touchback, and 1 inside the 20. Leading tacklers for the Saints include Demario Davis with 11 tackles. You had 8 tackles by Jonas Sanker. 7 tackles by former Niner Isaac Yiadom. Carl Granderson finished with 7 tackles and 2 sacks. All right, total yards. Niners with 344 yards. The Saints with 307. Passing yards favored San Francisco, 267 to 186. Rush yards favored New Orleans, 121 to 77. 23 first downs for the 49ers, 21 for the Saints. All right. 8 of 15 third downs for the 49ers with no fourth downs. 4 of 11 third downs for the Saints and 1 of 2 on fourth. 5 penalties, 40 yards for the Niners, 3 sacks taken for 12, 1 lost fumble, and no interceptions thrown. 7 penalties, 45 yards for the Saints, 3 sacks taken for 21, 1 lost fumble, and no interceptions thrown. Time of possession, 30 minutes, 45 seconds for San Francisco versus 29 minutes, 15 seconds for New Orleans. Closing line was San Francisco -3, over under is 40.5. I took the Niners to win and cover, and it remained perfect in my straight up picks at 9-0. Spread record goes to 5-4. And then the last of the early Sunday afternoon games sees the Seattle Seahawks go to Pittsburgh and take down Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers 31-17. As both teams now sit at 1-1. Alright, we'll begin with individual numbers. First for the Seahawks. Sam Darnold was 22 of 33, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and an 89.8 QB rating. Leading rusher was K9, Kenneth Walker III, 13 carries, 105, and a touchdown. He averaged 8.1 per run. Leading receivers include Jackson Smith and Jigba, 8 catches, 103 yards, 10 targets, and a 12.9 average. And Cooper Kupp, 7 catches, 90 yards on 9 targets, and a 12.9 QB rating. Or rather, a 12.9 average, not a QB rating. You had touchdown catches from Torrey Horton and A.J. Barner. Josh Myers, 1 of 2 on field goals, long of 54, 4 of 4 on extra points. Michael Dixon, 4 punts, averaging 43.8, long of 52, with 1 touchback and 2 inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Seahawks include Ernest Jones IV with 10 tackles, Tyrese Knight with 8 tackles, Josh Jobe, 4 tackles and a pass defense, Jaron Reed, 3 solo tackles and a sack, Byron Murphy II, 5 tackles and 1.5 sacks, and Big Leonard Williams, he had 4 tackles and half a sack for Seattle. Moving on to the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, rough day for him. 18 of 33, 203 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. He had a QB rating of 58. Mason Rudolph went 2 for 2 for 12 yards and a 91.7 QB rating. Leading rusher was Jaylen Warren. 14 carries, 48 yards, and a 3.4 average. Warren was also the team's top receiver. He had 4 catches, 86 yards on 4 targets. He averaged 21.5 yards per catch. Pat Freiermuth, 3 for 31 on 4 targets and a 10.3 average. Jonnu Smith, 4 catches, 27 yards on 4 targets and a 6.8 average. DK Metcalf, with 3 catches, 20 yards on 6 targets, and a touchdown against his former team, he averaged 6.7. Chris Boswell, 3 for 3 on field goals, long of 48 with no extra points. Corliss Waitman, 4 punts, averaging 55.3, long punt of 64. With 1 touchback and 1 inside the 20-yard line. Alright, leading tacklers for the Steelers, you've got Peyton Wilson with 8 tackles and a sack. Chuck Clark with 8 tackles as well. Juan Thornhill with 7 tackles. Jalen Ramsey, 6 tackles, 2 passes defensed, and an interception. And Jack Sawyer with 6 tackles and a sack. Total yards, 395 for the Hawks, 267 for the Steelers. Passing yards, 278 to 195, Seattle. Rush yards, 117 to 72, also Seattle. The Seahawks had 21 first downs versus 13 for the Steelers. Seattle 6 of 14 on 3rd down. Pittsburgh 5 for 15. Both teams 1 for 2 on 4th down. 2 penalties, 10 yards for the Seahawks. 2 sacks taken for 17. No lost fumbles and 2 interceptions thrown. 2 penalties, 15 yards for the Steelers. 3 sacks taken for 20. No lost fumbles and also 2 interceptions thrown. 31 minutes, 17 seconds, the time of possession for Seattle versus the Steelers at 28 minutes and 43 seconds. Closing line was Pittsburgh -4, and the over-under at close was 40.5, and they just barely missed. No, they got the total. Never mind. I took Pittsburgh to win, Pittsburgh to cover it, lost both picks, so that's my first straight-up loss of the week. Took only 10 picks to do it, but I'm 9-1 in my straight-up picks. Back even with my spread picks at 5-5. Okay, let's move to the 4 o'clock games on Sunday, starting off with the Arizona Cardinals holding off a late surge from the Carolina Panthers as they win 27-22. Arizona is 2-0 to start the season for the first time since 2021, which was the last time they made the playoffs. Meanwhile, Carolina is 0-2 for the 4th year in a row. We'll begin with individual numbers for the Cardinals. First, Kyler Murray, 17 of 25 for 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a 92.1 QB rating. Leading rusher was James Conner, although he was held in check once again. 11 carries, 34 yards, and a touchdown, only a 3.1 average. Kyler added 7 carries, 32 yards, and a 4.6 average. Leading receivers for the Cardinals include Trey McBride, 6 catches, 78 yards on 7 targets. He averaged 13 per catch. Elijah Higgins finished with 2 catches, 45 yards on 3 targets, and a 22.5 average. And Trey Benson, 4 catches, 30 yards on 6 targets. He averaged 7.5. Michael Wilson had a touchdown reception for Arizona. Chad Ryland, 2 for 2 on field goals, long of 47, 3 for 3 on extra points. Blake Gillikin, 2 punts, averaging 61.5, long punt of 62. Okay, leading tacklers for the Cardinals include Jalen Thompson with 10 tackles. Budda Baker and Mack Wilson Sr. each had 8 tackles. Mack Wilson Sr. also added a pass defense. Garrett Williams had 7 tackles and a pass defense. Josh Sweat, 3 solo tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. And the ageless Calais Campbell had 5 tackles and 2 sacks for the Redbirds. For the Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young threw the ball quite a bit. 35 of 55 for 328 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception, and a 90.6 QB rating. Leading rusher was Chuba Hubbard, 10 carries, 38 yards, and a 3.8 average. Top receivers for Carolina include Tataroa McMillan. This is the rookie from Arizona. 6 catches, 100 yards on 10 targets, and a 16.7 average. So this was basically a homecoming for him. Played his college football in Tucson at the University of Arizona. And of course played against the Cardinals on Sunday. Jatavian Sanders, 7 catches, 54 yards on 9 targets, and a 7.7 average. Bryson Tremaine, 3 catches, 48 yards on 5 targets. He averaged 16 per catch. Hunter Renfrow, 7 catches, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 targets, and a 6.9 average. Now, he was listed on the injury report for the Panthers, but he played pretty well. Chuba Hubbard did have a receiving touchdown to go along with his 5 catches and 39 yards on 6 targets. He averaged 7.8. Ryan Fitzgerald, 1 for 1 on field goals, making from 27, and 1 for 1 on extra points. And Sam Martin with 2 punts, averaging 47.5, long punt of 60, with 1 inside the 20. Leading tacklers for the Panthers include Trevon Moehrig, 9 tackles. Patrick Jones II had 4 tackles and a pass defense. Nick Scott, 3 solo tackles. Derek Brown, also 3 solo tackles plus 2 passes defense. J.C. Horn had 2 solo tackles. Christian Roseboom had 7 tackles. And DJ Wanham, he finished with 4 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. Total yards, Panthers 352, Cardinals 293. Passing yards favored Carolina, 303 to 211. Rush yards favored Arizona, 82 to 49. 26 first downs for the Panthers versus 16 for the Cardinals. Carolina was 5 of 15 on third downs, 3 of 4 on 4th down. Arizona 3 of 9 on 3rd down, 1 for 1 on 4th down. 7 penalties, 83 yards for the Panthers, 3 sacks taken for 25, 1 lost fumble, and 1 interception thrown. 12 penalties, 96 yards for the Cardinals, 1 sack taken for 9, no lost fumbles, 1 interception thrown. Time of possession, 33 minutes, 15 seconds for the Panthers, 26 minutes, 45 seconds for the Cardinals. Closing line was Arizona -7. The over-under was 45.5. I took the Cardinals to win and cover. Got the straight-up pick correct. So now my straight-up record for the week is 10-1. But I lost the ATS as Arizona only won the game by 5 points. So that drops me back under 500 in my spread picks at 5-6. Then we had a wild one between the Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts. As time was expiring in regulation, the Colts, their kicker, Spencer Schrader, missed a 60-yard field goal wide to the right, but then a flag was called, leverage against the Broncos. That's a 15-yard penalty, so now that 60-yard attempt became a 45-yard attempt. Schrader nails it, and the Colts win going away, beating the Broncos 29-28. This was a heartbreaker for Denver as they dropped to 1-1. While Indianapolis, listen to this, they're 2-0 for the first time since 2009. That was when Peyton Manning was the quarterback. All right, we'll start with individual numbers for the victorious Colts, beginning with Daniel Jones, now 2-0 as a starter for Indy. 23 of 34, 316 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He had a 107 QB rating. Leading rusher was Jonathan Taylor. 25 carries for 165 and a 6.6 average. Daniel Jones ran 6 times for only 2 yards, but did score a rushing touchdown. Top receivers for Indianapolis include the rookie tight end Tyler Warren, 4 catches, 79 yards on 7 targets and a 19.8 average. Alec Pierce, 4 catches, 68 yards on 5 targets. He averaged 17 a catch. Josh Downs, 6 for 51, 8 targets, and an 8.5 average. And Jonathan Taylor, 2 catches, 50 yards, and a receiving touchdown on 2 targets. He had an average of 25 yards. So how about Jonathan Taylor? 215 yards on 27 touches on Sunday. He's my player of the week. All right. We mentioned Spencer Schrader. 5 of 5 on field goals. His longest was the 45-yarder game winner. And he was 2 for 2 on extra points. There were no punts for the Colts. Leading tacklers include Nick Cross with 7 tackles and a pass defense. Grover Stewart also had 7 tackles. DeForest Buckner, 6 tackles. Mekhi Blackton, 5 tackles. Joe Bocci, he had 7 tackles. Zaire Franklin, 5 tackles and a pass defense. Cam Bynum, 4 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. And for the Broncos to suffer heartbreak for the first time this year, and yeah, this was a tough one. Bo Nix, 22 of 30, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 111.3 QB rating. Leading rusher was J.K. Dobbins, 14 carries, 76 yards, and a touchdown, average 5.4 per run. Leading receivers for the Broncos include Troy Franklin, 8 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets, 11.1 average. Marvin Mims Jr., 2 catches, 24 yards, and a touchdown on 2 targets. He averaged an even 12 yards per catch. Adam Troutman, meanwhile, had 3 catches, 10 yards, and a touchdown on 3 targets, averaging just 3.3 per catch. Will Lutz, 0 for 1 on field goals, 4 for 4 on extra points. Jeremy Crawshaw, rookie punter from, I think, Florida, that said. Yes, Florida. He's an Aussie. He had 3 punts averaging 44.7, long punt of 50, all 3 punts inside the 20-yard line. So good job for Mr. Crawshaw. Leading tacklers for Denver include Pat Surtain II with 11 tackles in a pass defense. Talanoa Hufanga with 10. Alex Singleton with 8. And Brandon Jones with 7 tackles in a pass defense. Total yards, Colts 473, Broncos 324. Passing yards favored Indianapolis 306 to 206. Rush yards also favored the Colts 167 to 118. 26 first downs for the home team, 23 for the Broncos. Denver 4 of 9 on third down, Indy 6 of 13, plus 0 for 2 on fourth down. 8 penalties, 83 yards for Denver. No sacks taken, no lost fumbles, but they did have an interception thrown. 11 penalties, 68 yards for Indianapolis. 1 sack taken for 10. No lost fumbles or interceptions thrown. Time of possession, 32 minutes, 7 seconds for the Colts. 27 minutes, 53 seconds for the Broncos. Closing line, Denver -1, over-under is 43. I picked the Broncos to win and to cover that small point spread, but lost both picks. So my straight-up record goes to 10-2. And my spread picks are now 5-7. That brings us to the Super Bowl 59 rematch as the Philadelphia Eagles once again beat the Kansas City Chiefs with very little offense, I may add. Final was 20-17 as the Eagles go to 2-0. And how about this? The Kansas City Chiefs 0-2 for the first time since 2014. And with the win, Philadelphia has now beaten Kansas City 3 straight games. That includes Super Bowl 59 back in February. We'll start with individual numbers for my Eagles, beginning with Jalen Hurts. 15 of 22, 101 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 78 passer rating. And by the way, Chris Jones, you are wrong. Jalen Hurts did throw for 100 yards. Just putting it out there. Leading rusher was Saquon Barkley, 22 carries, 88 yards, and a touchdown, averaging 4 yards per grab, or 4 yards per rush. Jalen Hurts, 9 for 15, and a rushing touchdown as well. Leading receivers for the Eagles include Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 53 yards on 6 targets. He would average 13.3. A.J. Brown, 5 catches, 27 yards on 8 targets and a 5.4 average. And that's pretty much it with the receivers. Jake Elliott, 2 for 2 on field goals. Long of 58, 2 for 2 on extra points. Braden Mann, 5 punts, averaging 54.8. Long punt of 70. 1 touchback and 1 inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Eagles include Cooper DeJean with 8 tackles. Jahad Campbell, this is the rookie from Alabama, rookie linebacker. He had 7 tackles. Andrew Makuba, another rookie from the University of Texas. He had 6 tackles, half a sack, a pass defense, and an interception. Zach Bond, 6 tackles. Jordan Davis, 5 tackles and 2 passes defense. Quinyon Mitchell with 3 solo tackles. Josh Uche, 4 tackles. Zadarius Smith, who we just signed not too long ago, had 4 tackles and half a sack. For the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, one of his rough games in a while. 16 of 29, 187 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a 72.1 passer rating. He was also the team's leading scorer with 7 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown, averaging 9.4. Kareem Hunt, 8 carries, 31 yards, averaging 3.9. Isaiah Pacheco, 10 for 22 yards, averaging 2.2. Leading receivers for Kansas City include Travis Kelce, 4 catches, 61 yards on 6 targets, and a 15.3 average. Tyquan Thornton, 2 catches, 59 yards, and a touchdown on 5 targets. Hey, Miss Full Roller Sarah's in the house. What's going on? Marquise Hollywood Brown, 5 catches, 30 yards on 5 targets. He averaged 6. Thornton, by the way, averaged 29.5 per catch. And Thornton did catch a touchdown pass. Harrison Butker, 1 for 2 on field goals, long of 56, 2 for 2 on extra points. Matt Araiza, 3 punts, averaging 59.3, long punt of 69, 2 punts inside the 20. Okay, leading tacklers for the Chiefs include Shamari Connor with 9 tackles. Jalen Watson also with 9 tackles. Drew Tranquil, 6 tackles. Nick Bolton also had 6 tackles. Brian Cook with 4 solo tackles. And Trent McDuffie with 3 solo tackles. Both players added a pass defense for the Chiefs. Total yards, 294 for Kansas City, 216 for Philadelphia. Passing yards favored the Chiefs, 173 to 94. Rush yards, slight edge to the Eagles at 122 to 121. Slight advantage in first downs goes to KC at 17 to 16. Philadelphia 5 of 14 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down. Kansas City 4 for 12 on third down, 2 for 3 on fourth down. 6 penalties, 48 yards for the Eagles, 2 sacks taken for 7, no lost fumbles, no interceptions thrown. 6 penalties, 45 yards for the Chiefs, 2 sacks taken for 14, no lost fumbles, and 1 interception thrown. Time of possession is 32 minutes, 34 seconds for the Eagles, 27 minutes, 26 seconds for the Chiefs. Closing line was Philadelphia -1 and the over-under was 47. I took the Eagles to win and cover and won both picks. Now my straight-up record going into the 3 remaining primetime games is 11-2. And my spread record is 6-7. Okay, now we're moving on to Sunday Night Football as the Atlanta Falcons dominated the Minnesota Vikings 22-6. The Falcons get their first dub of 2025, while the Vikings lose their first game of 2025. Both teams sit at 1-1. Alright, we'll begin with individual numbers, beginning with the Falcons. Michael Penix Jr., 13 of 21, 135 yards with no touchdowns or interceptions. He had an 80.5 QB rating. Big night for Bijan Robinson. 22 carries, 143 yards. No touchdowns, though. He averaged 6.5 per run. And Tyler Algier, 16 of 76, or 16 carries for 76, and a touchdown. He averaged 4.8. Leading receivers include Drake London, 3 for 49 yards on 4 targets. He averaged 16.3. Kyle Pitts, Sr., 4 catches, 37 yards on 5 targets. He averaged 9.3. Bijan Robinson added 3 catches for 25 yards on 5 targets at an 8.3 average. So for Bijan, that is 25 touches for 168 yards. Very impressive. All right. Parker Romo, he's a place kicker from Virginia Tech. He was brought in, signed early last week by Atlanta, and he kicked very well in the absence of Younghoe Koo. 5 for 5 on field goals, long of 54, 1 for 1 on extra points. Bradley Pinion, 3 punts, averaging 45.7, long punt of 46, with 1 punt inside the 20. Okay, leading tacklers for the Falcons include David Onyemata with 5 tackles, Zach Harrison also with 5 tackles, plus 1.5 sacks and a forced fumble. D. Alford had 4 tackles, and Billy Bowman Jr. had 4 tackles, 2 passes defense, and an interception. As for the Vikings, who's having trouble getting their offense going, J.J. McCarthy was 11 of 21 for 158 yards with no touchdowns and 2 interceptions at a 37.5 passer rating. He has an ankle injury, and it looks like he won't play Sunday against the Bengals. We'll keep tabs on that. Leading rusher was Jordan Mason, held to 9 carries, 30 yards, and a 3.3 average. All right, Justin Jefferson led the Vikings receivers with 3 catches, 81 yards on 6 targets, and a 27 average. Josh Naylor, 3 for 31 on 5 targets at 10.3. And Adam Thielen, in his second go-around with the Vikes, he had 2 catches, 26 yards on 3 targets, and a 13 average. What's up, Anna? How goes it? All right, T.J. Hawkinson, meanwhile, was held to just 1 catch on 3 targets for 12 yards. Will Reichert, 2 for 2 on field goals, long 51 with no extra points. And Ryan Wright, he had 4 punts, I think. Yes, 4 punts averaging 51, long punt of 59, 2 inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for the Vikings include Ivan Pace Jr., with 9 tackles. Theo Jackson also with 9 tackles. Byron Murphy Jr. with 7 tackles. Isaiah Rodgers, 4 solo tackles. Jonathan Allen with 7 tackles rather. Jalen Redmond, 6 tackles and a sack. And DJ Turner with 5 tackles and a sack. Total yards, sorry about that. Total yards, 326 for the Falcons, 198 for the Vikings. Passing yards, favorite Minnesota, 120 to 108. Rush yards, though, favorite Atlanta, 218 to 78. First downs, also favorite Atlanta, 19 to the Vikings, 10. 6 of 15 third downs, but no fourth downs for the Falcons. 4 of 11 on third down and 1 of 2 on fourth down for the Vikings. 5 penalties for 29 yards for Atlanta, 3 sacks taken for 27, 1 lost fumble and no interceptions thrown. 8 penalties, 50 yards for Minnesota, 6 sacks taken for 38, 2 lost fumbles and 2 interceptions thrown. Time of possession, 36 minutes, 32 seconds for the Atlanta Falcons, putting them in ball hawk territory for the 2nd week in a row. while the Vikings held possession for 23 minutes and 28 seconds. Closing line was Minnesota -3 over under 44.5. This game went nowhere near that number. I picked the Vikings to win, but the Falcons to cover. So with that, my straight up record drops to 11-3, but I do improve my spread record to 7-7. So that's good. Okay, we're gonna wrap up with the Monday Night Football doubleheader, starting with Game 1. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting a late touchdown in the closing seconds to beat the Texans in Houston 20-19. And now make it 5 straight seasons for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, opening the year at 2-0. Meanwhile, the Texans, very concerning with them, they are 0-2 to start the year. The 2-time reigning AFC South champions are in a world of hurt right now. We'll start with individual numbers for the Buccaneers, beginning with Baker Mayfield. 25 of 38, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 98 passer rating. Leading rusher was Bucky Irving, 17 carries, 71 yards, and a 4.2 average. Rachaad White, 10 carries, 65 yards. He would score the game-winning touchdown for Tampa. And Baker Mayfield ran 3 times for 33 yards and averaged 11 per run. Leading receivers for the Buccaneers include Mike Evans, 5 catches, 56 yards, 11 targets, and an 11.2 average. Bucky Irving, 6 grabs for 50 on 6 targets and an 8.3 average. Sterling Shepard, 4 catches, 34 yards on 4 targets, and an 8.5 average. Emeka Egbuka, rookie wide receiver from Ohio State, 4 catches, 29 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets. What's poppin', the Raw troop? Also, Ryan Miller caught a touchdown pass in this game as well. Chase McLaughlin, 0 for 1 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points. Riley Dixon, 5 punts, averaging 50.6, long punt of 60, 1 touchback, and 1 block. Leading tacklers for the Buccaneers include Tyke Smith with 6 tackles, Zach McCollum with 5 tackles, Antoine Winfield Jr. with 4 solo tackles. Jacoby Dean also had 3 solo tackles. And for the Texans, again, off to an 0-2 start. C.J. Stroud, this was a rough one. 13 of 24 for 207 with a touchdown and an interception and a 97.1 passer rating. All right, Nick Chubb is 12 carries, 43 yards, and a touchdown. This was the touchdown that put Houston in front, 19-14, before Tampa Bay went on that game-winning drive. Leading receivers for the Texans include Nico Collins, 3 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. He averaged 17.3. Xavier Hutchinson had 2 catches, 29 yards on 2 targets, averaging 14.5. Nick Chubb had 2 catches, 29 as well on 2 targets, and a 14.5 average. Woody Marks had 1 big catch for 37 yards, and Dalton Schultz had 3 catches for 29 yards on 4 targets and a 9.7 average. Kaimi Fairbairn, 2 for 2 on field goals, Long was 53, and 1 for 1 on extra points. Tommy Townsend, 4 punts averaging 50.8, long punt of 57, 1 touchback, and 2 inside the 20-yard line. All right, leading tacklers for the Texans include Henry To'oTo'o. He had 11 tackles. Azeez Al-Shaair with 10 tackles and a pass defense. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, 6 solo tackles. Jalen Petrie had 6 tackles. Kamari Lassiter had 5 tackles. and Danielle Hunter with 5 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. All right, total yards 360 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oops, back out of that. And 266 for the Houston Texans. All right, slight advantage of passing yards for the Buccaneers, 191 to 182. Big advantage in rush yards for Tampa Bay, 169 to 84. Same with first downs. Tampa Bay had 25, Houston had 12. The Bucs were 6 for 14 on third down and 1 for 1 on fourth down, while the Texans were 2 for 9 on third down and 0 for 1 on fourth down. 7 penalties, 45 yards for Tampa, 4 sacks taken for 24, with no lost fumbles or interceptions thrown. 6 penalties, 45 yards for Houston, 3 sacks taken for 25, no lost fumbles or interceptions thrown. Tampa Bay is in ball hog territory as they held possession for 37 minutes and 9 seconds, while Houston had the ball for 22 minutes and 51 seconds. Closing line was Houston -3, over-under is 42.5. I did take the Texans to win and cover, given the fact that Tampa Bay had a bunch of big injuries. Tristan Wirfs was out, Chris Godwin was out, among all the other injuries they have. But shorthanded or not, Tampa Bay wins, Tampa Bay covers. So my spread record is down to 7-8, and my straight up record is 11-4. Heading into game 2 of the Monday night doubleheader between the Los Angeles Chargers, fresh off of their Week 1 victory over in Brazil against the Chiefs, and the Las Vegas Raiders, who also tasted victory in Week 1, beating the Patriots. The Chargers weren't as sharp as they were in Week 1, but it was enough to beat the Raiders 20-9. So LA at 2-0 sits atop the AFC West by themselves, while the Las Vegas Raiders drop to 1-1. All right, individual numbers for the Chargers, beginning with Justin Herbert. 19 of 27, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 122.8 QB rating. Herbert was also the team's leading rusher with 9 carries and 31 yards at a 3.4 average. Najee Harris, 8 for 28 yards and a 3.5 average. And Omarion Hampton with 8 carries, 24 yards, and a 3 average for the North Carolina product. Leading receivers for the Chargers include Quentin Johnston. 3 catches, 71 yards, including a 60-yard touchdown in the third quarter. He was targeted 7 times and averaged 23.7 per catch. Keenan Allen, 5 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets. He averaged 12.2. And Ladd McConkey, 5 catches, 48 yards on 5 targets. He averaged 9.6. Cameron Dicker, 2 for 2 on field goals, long 38, 2 for 2 extra points. J.K. Scott, 3 punts, averaging 52.7, long punt of 56, no touchbacks, and 2 inside the 20-yard line. Okay, leading tacklers for the Chargers include Deion Henley with 10 tackles, a sack, 2 passes defensed, and an interception. Tarheeb Still with 9 tackles. Derwin James. Tarheeb Still also had 2 passes defensed in this game. Sorry. Derwin James Jr., 7 tackles, 2 passes defensed. Tuli Tuipulotu, I hope I said his name right. He had 5 tackles and 2 passes defensed. I don't think I mentioned Tony Jefferson, but he had 5 tackles, 2 interceptions, or 2 passes defense and an interception. And Alohi Gilman, he had 3 tackles and 2 passes defense. In fact, the Chargers as a defense, recorded 15 passes defensed in this game. 15. And for the Raiders, Geno Smith, oh boy, this was ugly for him, man. 24-43 for 180 yards, no touchdowns, and count them, 3 interceptions. He had a QB rating of 37. So yeah, rough night for Geno Smith. Rough night also for rookie Ashton Jeanty, 11 carries, 43 yards, averaging just 3.9 per run. Leading receivers are Jacoby Myers, 6 catches, 68 yards on 12 targets, and an 11.3 average. And Brock Bowers, 5 catches, 38 yards on 8 targets. He averaged only 7.6. Daniel Carlson was 3 for 3 on field goals. Long was 54 and no extra points. AJ Cole, 2 punts, averaging 57. Long punt of 60 with 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. Leading tacklers for Vegas include Devin White with 8 tackles. Jermaine Pratt with 7 tackles. And Isaiah Polamau with 5 tackles. Also 2 passes defensed for Jeremy Pratt. Jeremy Chin had 6 solo tackles and a pass defense for the Raiders. Total yards, LA 317, Vegas 218. Passing yards favored the Chargers 236 to 150. Rush yards favored the Chargers as well, 81 to 68. Both teams have 15 first downs. 4 of 11 on third down for the Chargers, 9 of 18 for the Raiders. Chargers 1 for 2 on fourth down. Vegas 0 for 2. 6 penalties, 33 yards for the Chargers, 2 sacks taken for 6, 1 lost fumble, and no interceptions thrown. 5 penalties, 47 yards for the Las Vegas Raiders, 3 sacks taken for 30, no lost fumbles, and 3 interceptions thrown. The Raiders won the time of possession battle at 31 minutes 43 seconds versus 28 minutes and 17 seconds for the Chargers. Closing line was LA minus 3.5, and the over-under was 46.5. I picked the Chargers to win and cover. And for week number 2, I finished with a 12-4 straight-up record and an 8-8 record in my spread picks. So this is an improvement as far as my spread picks go from week 1. So overall, through 2 weeks, my straight-up record is 23-9, which is about 72%. But my spread record is only 13-19, which is about 41%. And I forgot to mention the time of possession in the Commanders-Packers game. So let's go back and take a look at that real quick. All right, it was 32 minutes, 26 seconds in time of possession for the Packers, and 27 minutes and 34 seconds for the Washington Commanders. Okay, so that is the recap for week 2. Now let's jump in quickly with my week 3 power rankings. And there is some movement, especially at the bottom of these power rankings. Starting with the Tennessee Titans dropping to number 32. They will host the Colts in week 3. Then you got the Miami Dolphins down to number 31. They play the Bills at Orchard Park on Thursday night. The Saints, last week's number 32, is up to number 30 as they face off with the Seahawks. The Carolina Panthers slipped down to 29. They host the Atlanta Falcons. Down to number 28 are the Chicago Bears, getting set to host Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Number 27 is the Cleveland Browns. Despite losing by 24 points, they moved up because a bunch of teams moved down. They will host the Packers this week. Number 26 is the Las Vegas Raiders as they visit the nation's capital to face the Commanders. Number 25, up a couple spots, are the New York Giants. They're home for Patrick Mahomes and the 0-2 Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. Meanwhile, New York's other team, the Jets, also up a couple spots to number 24. They're at Tampa Bay this week. The New England Patriots are down to number 23 as they've prepared to host the Steelers in week 3. The Jacksonville Jaguars dropped to 22. They get the Texans at home. Also dropping are the Minnesota Vikings, down to 21. They'll host the Cincinnati Bengals, again without Joe Burrow. Up to number 20 are the Atlanta Falcons. They will face the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte this week. The Pittsburgh Steelers fall to number 19. They're at the New England Patriots. The Houston Texans take a big drop down to 18 as they prepare to face the Jacksonville Jaguars in hopes of avoiding an 0-3 start. The Seattle Seahawks are up 5 spots to number 17. They host the Saints. The Dallas Cowboys also up 5 spots to number 16. They visit the Bears in Chicago. Dropping the number 15 are the Denver Broncos. They are in LA to face the Chargers. The 0-2 Chiefs are down to number 14 as they prepare for a Sunday night tilt with Russell Wilson and the Giants. The Arizona Cardinals move up 6 spots to number 13 as they prepare to visit the 49ers. The Indianapolis Colts also moving up 6 spots to number 12 as they prepare to face the Titans down in Nashville. Despite the loss Thursday night, I moved the Washington Commanders up to number 11 as they prepare to face the Raiders. Because I think 14 was a little too low. I still think this is too low, but okay. Alright. The Cincinnati Bengals, now minus Joe Burrow, potentially for the rest of the season, is up to number 10. They face the Vikings next. Staying at number 9 are the Detroit Lions, set for their Monday night collision with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers move back up to number 8. They host the New York Jets. The San Francisco 49ers inch up to number 7 as they prepare to host the Arizona Cardinals. And then the top 6 teams remain the same, with the LA Rams at number 6 set to face the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field. The LA Chargers at number 5 host the Denver Broncos. The Baltimore Ravens at number 4 will host the Detroit Lions. The Green Bay Packers stationary at number 3, preparing to play the Browns in Cleveland. Then you got the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles at number 2, set to host the Rams in a rematch of the NFC divisional round from a year ago. And staying in the top spot are the Buffalo Bills, kicking off the week at home against the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. And that is your Week 2 edition of the week that was, plus my Week 3 power rankings. And we'll return with the Week 3 recap next Tuesday. Coming up in just a bit, I will be back with my Week 4, or should I say the Week 4 college football television schedule and the announcers for every game coming up this weekend. That's next, so stay tuned. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.